Well, welcome back to the continuing saga of the laundry room renovation. I started building a cabinet, and I'm making this cabinet differently than I made my other one. I'm using Dado cuts and Rabbet cuts to build this cabinet, and I've never used these cuts before. It's actually, I got a Dado stack that I just received not that long ago, and it's one of the first jobs that I'm using it on. So this is a little bit learning curve here. I've already made one mistake. Well, what happened was I set my fence to make the first Dado cut in the center for the shelf, and I just used the guide on the table saw. Well, not dawning on me now that I looked at it after, it's not perfectly center where I wanted it, but I should have took the measuring tape and measured from the fence to the outside blade on the Dado stack. But not a big deal. I'm just going to have my bottom shelf is going to be a little bit wider than the top one. So no big deal, it's going to work. But now I know what I did wrong. So I'm going to continue on. I'm going to cut the Dado for the bottom shelf, and then for the sides, for the back. So there's the second Dado for the bottom shelf. I'm going to do the same cut now, leave it set up, grab the other board for the other side, and make the same cut. Now I'm going to cut the back edge Rabbet. Now that I have everything cut, I've got my two sides, I've got the back, I've got this couple stretchers for the bottom of the unit, I've got the top, and I've got the two shelves. Everything's been rabbeted and Dado cuts for the shelves. It's time to put it all together. So I'm going to glue it with wood glue. I'm going to pin nail everything together once I glue it up. So let's get this thing put together. Just going to use these 2x4s just to keep it off the table, because I got to get my clamps underneath the cabinet as well while I'm gluing it up. So. Flip it up on its face. Okay, put this one there. Okay, so I got all the clamps on. I pin nailed it together. Got the glue on. Now, just gonna give it some time to dry. Alright, it's been a few hours now. I'm gonna take the clamps off and see how this thing stays together. That's gonna go in just like... all put together, and then it'll just be the finishing touches. The front edge, I'm gonna edge band it like I was saying with some birch edge banding. And then I'm gonna make a door. So far, you know, I'm happy with how things are turning out. This is all new for me, and yeah, I'm learning lots. I'm learning lots, and the next ones, you know, will just get better and better and better. At least that's the idea. All right, now I'm gonna finish up the edges here. I've got this edge banding I'm gonna use. It's just an iron-on edge banding. Put them on just like this. Iron them on, and then cut off the excess with a knife. I'm gonna start with the top edge. Just kind of place it there, and then I'm gonna grab my iron, which is now nice and hot. Careful not to burn yourself, and it just irons on. You don't want to burn the wood or nothing, so you want to keep moving. But you got to make sure all that glue that's on the back of the edge band melts and then sticks on there. Then I like to just take a piece of wood and just make sure it's pushed down. Just like that. Then before you do any trimming of the edges, put all my edge banding on first, and then I'll trim it down. And you gotta watch when you put it on and you're holding it on, you're trying to get the joints nice and tight, that you don't pull on it too much, because your joints will come apart. And then you gotta go over it with the iron, loosen up the glue, and move it up again. And also make sure you get it stuck on the edges pretty good. You might want to just you want to kind of go like this a little bit over around the corners, but not too much, just enough to kind of push it and make sure it sticks. You just want to try to cut it as even as possible to the edge of the wood, and then you're going to take your sander anyways. I just do this by hand and sand the edges down a little bit. And as you're sanding, you want to go over the edge. I'll show you when we get there. Alright, now that you got it trimmed down, you're going to feel it's going to be pretty rough here on the edges still. Now you got to get the sandpaper and you're going to sand the edges down. Show you how that goes. So here's how I like to do it. And for this right now I got a 100 grit sandpaper right now. And now I'm just want to get the edges. Like I said, when you're sanding, you want to sand into the corner, over the corner. Not up, because you could grab the edge and pull it up and then pull this thing off, and you don't want that. So just take your time, do a bit of sanding. Alright, I'm going to continue on with this, I'm not going to bore you with the next half hour, whatever it takes me to finish sanding this. This cabinet here is going to have a door, so that's next, to build the door. Alright, so I'm starting the door for the cabinet. I'm making the front panel for it right now. I've already cut my pieces here. I'm using 5/16 inch wainscoting beadboard, I guess you call that, to make the center panel. So I've cut 4 pieces. I'm now going to glue them all together. So I've made a bit of a jig here so that I can get one corner perfectly square, so that when I go to cut down the length of it, I've got one square corner to go up against the table saw with. So actually I redid my measurements, and this 14-inch wide is going to be just perfect, because it's the panel is not going to be quite 14 inches once I need to cut it down to fit inside the stiles and the rails. Just put something on here so it doesn't mark it up. There. Good. Now I'll leave that for a couple hours, let that dry pretty good. In the meantime, I'm going to start with cutting some rails and the stiles. For this door I'm going to use, I'm using 1x4 pine, although I'm going to rip it down to 2.5 inches. So my stiles and rails are going to be 2.5 inches wide, and I've already pre-cut them to lengths. They're extra long. I'll cut them down to right size as I go along. But right now, I got to cut them down to 2.5 inches. Alright, so then now the next step here is to cut the groove right down the center that's going to hold my my middle panel. I did some test pieces to make sure I got it all right, and made some notes, and everything's going to work out just fine. So now I'm going to switch to my Dado stack. The first cut that I'm going to do is for the down the center. It's got to be 5/16 wide to accept the middle panel. As I'm going to use the Dado stack, I'm going to use the 2 1/8 blades and set it about 1/4 inch away from the fence, and I'm going to feed it through one way, come back, turn it around, go back the other way, and that's going to make it just perfect, right dead center. Stock wood here. So my jig here. So basically I'm going to set it for the height. I'm going to put it down on the blade, lower the blade, bring it up until it starts lifting my piece of wood, and then bring it back down till it touches. And we're good. I'm going to set the fence here at 1/4 inch, lock it in, and we're good. So now what I'll do to make sure it stays right in the center, I'm going to push it through one way, stop, come back, turn it around, and go again. That'll make the cut right center and perfect size for what I need. Alright, with all the cuts made, it's time to move on to the tenon part of it. And it's just going to fit basically right in there like that. And I'm just going to glue it in there. I'm going to have to change the dado stack again. I need a 3/4 inch wide dado stack this time. Alright, so I've got the 3/4 inch dado stack in place, and I've got it all set up to make my tenons. And there we go. There's the tenon for one of the tops. Now I'm going to cut this top rail down to the proper length. And there we go. Top rail all done. The panel is nice and dried. It is time to cut it down to size. Now on that jig, I made it, that jig, so that I have one perfectly square corner. Okay, I've just got the frame here all dry fitted together, and it's going to fit nicely. Now I'll just take it apart. We'll glue up the ends, the corners, put the panel inside, clamp it, and wait till it dries. I'm not going to glue the actual panel in. Give it a little bit of room so it could contract and expand. $34.15. Well, there we go. It is square. Now put some clamps on it. Hold her together while she dries. Okay, so I've got the door all done, made. I put the hinges on it, and I've got the hardware installed on the cabinet. So I'm gonna put this on, and I made a mistake. You know what? I'll show you my mistake. Also, I want to document it here so that I remember for next time. Anyways, I'll put on this door and I'll show you what happened. So there it is. So here's the mistake. Here's the hinge side. This is perfect. I've got the hinges on, and there's about a 1/8 reveal there. My door now has a lip. It's hanging over the edge of the cabinet. So I'm going to just cut this side of the door down. Okay, it's all fixed up. I'll show you here. Now you got the 1/8 reveal. But when you first glance at it, I don't think you can really tell too much. Hopefully only I'm going to be the one that knows that I made a mistake there, except for all you guys there now will know. And that's it. I don't want to hide from you that I made a mistake. This is the first time that I've actually made the door and have it installed on a cabinet like this. So I'm learning. You're making some mistakes, but I'm learning. But it looks good. I'm very pleased at how it turned out. So that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you learned along with me some of the things that mistakes that I've made that maybe you can avoid yourself. So if you liked the video, I'd appreciate a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please feel free to subscribe. We'll see you at the next one. Bye for now.